So I thought it'll be good to start by giving you a view of what is a universe of tools. Of course, the universe is much larger than what you're currently seeing on the screen, right? So if you look at HR practices, there's a bunch of maybe 6 or 7 tools. I'm sure there are hundreds of tools out there. We're just highlighting some of the tools that we have got practical hands-on experience in working with. You look at bank reconciliation, there are a few, FP&A, budgeting, forecasting, there are a few, compliance management, there are several. And there are some which are multifunctional, including project management tools. Right? So today, the universe of tools is no longer a limitation. I mean, your mind has to imagine it, and either there is a ready-made third-party tool, or there is something that a code writer could develop that you could possibly implement. Right. So the challenges today are not so much on the supply side for the tools, but in terms of the ability of companies to manage and implement the change within their respective organizations.
Thanks, Venkat. I think a very quick and good overview. So the target here basically is to reduce overall out of indirect spend around 3%. And this is a very conservative target because looking at the potential, it can go even further high. And simply if we consider the eligible items which we are taking in the first phase, there the potential is to reduce almost 6 to 7%.
And there is the benefits that you got are twofold. One is some of the, if I can call it, non-quantifiable benefits, like the better transparency, better control, lesser dependency on specific vendors, better flexibility, possibly saving of time, freeing up your own people for analytical. And then there is a monetary benefit, which is where you're talking about the gross margin expansion and the EBITDA improvement, because this whole thing is a straight flow through into your bottom line.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got it.
The first one that I'm going to talk about is dynamic discounting for suppliers. So how does this process work? So if you look at on the left, there is a flow where it shows that our invoices, the vendors' invoices are accepted by us and identified by us and loaded onto the cash invoice platform. They already have a large supplier base, and many of those are already our existing suppliers, where then they assign a payment discount and bring that offering to the supplier. The way this tool is structured is, where, let us say, my cost of capital is, for instance, let's say, 10%. My suppliers who are small and especially SME suppliers who may not have access to good banking facilities, or maybe they have access, but their banking discounting cost is much higher because of their credit rating or what have you. So what happens is that those suppliers are able to then play this arbitrage between whatever their banking cost or cost of funds is, and offering something in addition to mine, and that delta is what results in this transaction actually happening. Now,
procurement, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough just to give you visual idea as to how some of these tools look. Yeah, so this one delivered about 20x return in terms of improved sales, and it delivered a 4x return based on lower working capital. That is because it allowed for better inventory control and lower stock levels. Yeah, so these are some of the sales reports, right? It kind of gives you cuts by month on month, quarter on quarter, actual versus budgets, current year versus last year, data on sales by customers, sales by zone, by business segment, by product category. Yeah. Now we can go right up to the SKU level, right? So this is a textile company, so we can see color-wise stock levels, size-wise sales. We can also get collection data on this. The big advantage of tools like this is the visualization that you get, right? Otherwise, finance folks are notorious for throwing Excel spreadsheets. There's nothing wrong with an Excel spreadsheet, but it takes some time to kind of get to the core of the message. I think the great thing about these dashboards is that you are able to get to the message extremely quickly, and especially when you're communicating to the non-financial folks, the key messages are almost staring at them at the face, right? So now finance is kind of spending more time in driving performance, managing performance, rather than in trying to collate and consolidate spreadsheets for other departments to
Okay,
use.
so this is as Venkat very nicely introduced, BI tools or business intelligence tools, dashboards, and how they can have a great impact in sort of making a visual. We started our journey on data analytics and visualizations very recently, and what we thought was, maybe how to try to understand the SKU level profitability that we have, and what is there a pattern somewhere? With 700 plus SKUs, different companies, different brands, different ways of doing the costing. It was a very large data set. So what we have done over here is, I just want to show you some very simple things on how this actually worked for us. So we took data of about 4,000 batches of last year. These are all non-CIFA products. And then there are about 700 SKUs. So multiple batches for each SKU. And we calculated through our ERP system the material margin for each of them. So this is a gross margin. So it takes into account, whatever API or excipients or packaging material was purchased and dispensed or used for that batch.